The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondell.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Stage Door Show. I'm Dave Hondell. Tonight, I have two talented indie film executives that have several projects that they're working on. One in particular will focus on this show called Hansel and Gretel Halloween, which is getting widespread attention. They're the executive producers and distributors of the film. We're excited to speak with them about this and also their journey in filmmaking. So please welcome to the show, Matteo Rolleri and Samantha Richardson. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
I just wanted to get started, with people hear the term executive producer, for our people that are listening, our young artists, because they hear producer, executive producer, tell me the difference really between the two. As an executive producer, Matteo, what does that mean, executive producer in a film?
We came, for example, talking about Hansel and Gretel Halloween, we came with the main idea. So first of all, the seed of what we want to create was from us. And then because we run DevilWorks as well, we finance the film. And always we oversee more like it's called above the line, which is more the creative stuff of the film. Mm-hmm. So above the line means, for example, the script. So we work with Chris to write the script. And then with Marcus and Logan, we did the casting. So they were sending us tapes and we're choosing together which cast to choose for the film. And then we were looking at location. So we were choosing location together. So it's more like the creative part. The two directors went on set and shot the film. So we didn't go on set ourselves. But we're taking care of everything that was creative and make sure that everything stayed in budget. And then also we took care of the marketing in post-production, because also we took care of poster, trailer, marketing, etc. But the executive producer term for us anyway is when you take care of the creative space and also the idea of what you want to show to people.
Samantha, when we talked about the money part of this, the keep it in budget, and as an executive producer, obviously there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things that have to be considered, especially with an independent film versus a big studio film. So how do you navigate keeping everything within a budget, having to pay, producers, actors, permits, and all the things that go along with filmmaking? How do you navigate something like that and still keep it within your budget?
It is very different. Like when you look at studio projects to independent, and that goes from coming up with an idea, first of all. So when you come up with an idea, you have to have a budget in mind. You can't just go to the script, we can't just go to the script writer and say, so this is the film I want us to make, and it needs to have this many actors and this amount of locations and all this going on, but the budget's this, it's very limited. So you just stretch very thin. And so when we have the idea, we already have a budget in mind. And then we think, okay, let's communicate with the team first to see, can this be made for this much? And what does that really mean? And then the scriptwriter will then make changes maybe to the script along the way to say, okay, this scene particular is feasible or not feasible, and why? And if it isn't feasible, we either take it out or we change it. But the demographics of a script really do change throughout the process based on a script. And there'll always be things that come up through the production process of, this happens, that happens. Maybe we need to, can we have more money? All sorts of things. There was also a blackout. They had no power during production. Yeah. There was all kinds of challenges and all sorts of things that happened. And so you do have, when you put a script together, when you put a budget together, you do have a buffer available, but it's also really easy to go over budget. So we do have to be quite strict with that and just make sure you're spending the money in the right places. Mm-hmm. And again, the real key to that is communication with the whole team. It's not just, I'm putting the money in, I have a say. No, we listen as well. When the producer or director comes to us and says, hey,
can't do that, sorry. We need to move something else.
Yeah. It's about being very open and honest from the beginning as well. So nobody's surprised along the way.
Yeah, and Matteo, that's a good point, because one of the things I was going to ask you, in your level of being an executive producer, if the producers and the director, have an idea, obviously it's a collaborative effort, I think, for the most part, if it's within budget and it can work. But I guess that collaboration, have most of the films have you worked on, has there been that collaboration has been harmonious, or have there been situations in certain films that you butt heads a little bit? I mean, how does that work?
Well, we've actually pretty lucky, I'll be honest. Yes. Because me and Samantha, we're really straightforward. So people do understand that straight away when they speak with us. We go straight to the point and we say, this is what we got. This is what we want to make. Can you make it happen? Otherwise, what can we change? And we're really collaborative in that sense. I've been doing this for over 20 years. Sure. So in that sense, I can really see people. And when we choose a director or producer, we are really careful as well. So, but we never had any issue, I would say. Sometimes the issue can come out like in post-production, but that can be fixed by post. But in general, I'll be honest, I never any issue. Apart from maybe I think more the issue comes like all the problems, if you call them problem, is more when the director is on set on the day. They might have some attention, maybe with actors or things like that. But we don't deal with that sometimes, but I do hear stories sometimes. It was really funny. We were producing a film. It was actually a romance. And then it was a horse romance. So the actor and the actress, they went on set and they said they could horse riding and etc. And then the director realized that the girl was scared of horses and she couldn't ride.
Oh no!
And even if the script was all about horse riding, and etc. So she just probably did it just to get the part. But when the director was on set, then she had a backup person. He managed to shoot just like after the shot, so he wasn't showing the face of the girl, something like that. So that was just a funny story of somebody, with a romance on horses. They went on set and they went for the casting and they got accepted, but they couldn't
ride a horse,
which is really weird. Yeah. So you never know what you get like until you actually get on set.
Yeah.
We make sure that we get tapes from actors and everyone to make sure they look the way they do, they sound the way they sound. We look at showreels of actors, but also we always ask to read them like a line from the script, so we know, how they are and and etc. Because people change all the time. So
yeah, for sure. Well, Samantha, let me start back at the beginning. How did you get interested? What was your journey in filmmaking? I mean, what made you interested? I guess how did you catch the bug to filmmake, and how did that process work? Were you very young when that happened, or how did it work for you?
It was my fault.
Yes.
Okay.
To be honest, I kind of guess I was really lucky. It's interesting because I didn't go to film school. It wasn't a dream come true. It wasn't something that I thought I would ever get into or even cross my consciousness. If I'm really honest, I've always been hugely passionate from a very young age, especially with genre, especially horror. But I met Matteo in the days when I was helping out another company, a film-based company in London, and I was purely helping them with festivals, communications, and getting their film festivals and liaising that process, which I really enjoyed. And then Matteo has that production background, and then we got together and I was doing something entirely different. And then we decided to give Devil Works a go.
Yeah, we started the company together.
Yes, and we just decided, hey, Matteo had worked on with other companies before, and he had a lot more experience and passion. And I guess that really ignited something in me. And having that genuine interest in cinema and in film already, it was quite natural. And then I really picked up everything along the way.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Yeah,
well, I think sometimes just doing, can be the best teacher. It's actually just doing, right?
In filmmaking, the best thing is to do it because you learn much. Mm-hmm. So there are lots of schools that do understand there is amazing school, but then you need to go on set and do your first short film or low budget film. You need to be on set, know people. It's a lot about networking as well. It's a lot about networking. Going to film festival and going to market is really important if you want to make a film.
I may, just to answer your question fully, really the process. So that was my personal process into, let's say, this industry. But then for us as a company, it was a really organic progression from, we were an international sales agent. We were selling rights to North America, English-speaking territories, the world, and those films were getting released, and we were following those releases and supporting those releases. And then it was a case of, okay, we became really heavily engaged in the domestic, in North America with films releases. And then we started to get more contacts. The more you travel, the more you attend festivals and markets. And then we wanted to, when you ever run a business, you look at how you can expand that business. And that really was the most natural way for us to then get into the domestic distribution. So we were distributing other producers' projects.
Sure.
And that became a really important part of our business. And then from there, we started, let's commission titles and produce our own projects as well, because we really know what works, what the market wants. And that way we have a full hand, in all the places, so we can be from the very beginning, when that seed is planted, to that release of the film. And it's amazing to watch that journey.
Yeah, basically we're an independent studio in that sense. We take care of everything in that sense. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of that, it's changed. Obviously, there's been a huge evolution since COVID, even with studios versus independent studios. And do you feel that it's now more of an even playing field for independent studios that can compete with the bigger studios out there because of social media and the way you can market the films? And there's really, and especially horror is really a niche thing, but it's becoming so big. There's so many fans of the horror niche, and do you feel that your company can really stand up to the bigger studios when it comes to your work because of all the ways you can market it now?
Definitely, yeah. Marketing got more accessible, and there is more fun way to market a film thanks to TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And actually, I think when the film is out, it's more effective to do the campaign with some social influencer, like on Instagram. People that there's a lot of people that talks about what's coming out on Instagram, and it's really good to work with them instead of just a piece on a trade. Because then, for example, if you drop a trailer that gets reposted can potentially go viral on social media. So definitely it's easier to market in that sense. You still rely on platform placement. So you need to have a good relationship with platforms. And then the competition. Competition is a big word, because big studio, they just do big stuff. So in general, the good thing is that people still want to watch independent horror films. They still want to go on certain platform to watch independent horror film, because there are so many cases of certain things like they were small and then became bigger because they went viral. But the horror film fans like to watch, I think anyway, a big film, but also independent studio films. They like them both. They like the concept. If there's a good concept, good idea, they're just going to watch it. It's more like, okay, just one thing about horror. We started doing horror, 15 years ago. We were like between few other companies, maybe 4 or 5. We were the only one in the market doing horror. Since then, 10 years after, now everybody's actually doing horror. During the pandemic, so many companies, the sales company that were founded in the market, and they were all just doing horror. They might not call themselves Devilworks or something like Dark or whatever, but even they were, lots of UK companies were founded during the pandemic, and some other companies, they shift towards horror like huge time. But there is a lot, as you said, there is a lot. And also, big studios, they realize the potential of horror film, and they're put a lot of money on that. But so it keeps everything going. I think it's good. But when we started, it was definitely less competition. It was like way easier to go on the market and sell horror films. It was way easier because now like there's a lot of people doing it. So you need to be more specific on what you do. It cannot just be a generic horror. Hansel and Gretel Halloween, it's got the hook of Hansel and Gretel. There's the hook of Halloween. It's got good sort of special effects. I think it's a good story, and that works. But the usual, the killer with the usual killer in the woods, or the kids that go in like to the woods and they get killed one after the other one at night by the monster. It's kind of like, it's hard to sell that. It's hard to release that. Because before it was easy. It was really easy to do in the independent. I
Yeah.
think it's easy, but if a filmmaker wants to do a independent horror film, they really need to think about the creative idea behind it. It cannot just be like blood.
Right. Well, I'm glad you said that. That makes a lot of sense. And Samantha, one of the things being in horror, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, as a filmmaker, I like horror because it plays on my natural fears. A movie that plays on my natural fears. Everybody goes trick-or-treating, right? I mean, kids go trick-or-treating, and there's always a house or two in the neighborhood that you're afraid to go knock on the door. I mean, that's everybody grows up like that. So when you're dealing with horror, do you think about this when you're coming up with a story that plays on people's natural, I guess, fears, when it comes to, just anything in general, even being in the house, wondering, is somebody going to break in tonight, or is somebody going to, be hiding in my house when I come home? I mean, there's some natural fears that you play on, right? I mean, is that the popularity of the horror genre? Do you think it's because it plays on people's natural fears?
For sure. Yeah, 100%. And I think to touch on Matteo, when he said about coming up with a creative idea, doesn't need to be big budget at all. It's about an idea. And sometimes you need to reel it back in, because the idea can be so simple.
Right.
It is about playing on those usual tropes, those fears that we all have. You turn off the lights, the mind, the imagination
goes nuts. Yeah.
It does.
It does. And how we can all blow things out of proportion, especially at night. And then when the daylight appears the next day, it's gone. It's fine. Right. So yeah, those, we all share that. And I think that's the humane piece to horror. It doesn't have to be so out there and psychedelic and wild, just simplicity, but it works.
Yeah, and also we do like the unknown.
Oh yeah.
So that's what plays out with the unknown and the possibility, I don't know, monster, aliens, all that stuff sort of exists.
From the safety of our home,
right.
We're doing a film, right?
And when your home's not, when your home doesn't even feel safe. I grew up on Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, all those movies. And, and one of the things that I liked about those is, like the thought, if you're going to go to sleep, are you gonna face these people in your dreams, and so it was so real to me, so that's why I think I've always liked, the horror genre, and that's why I can't wait to see this film, Hansel and Gretel Halloween, because again, it's something that's right up my alley, but again, it's exciting. So talk about the release of this film, because I know it's coming up soon, right? And is there anything you could talk about at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really excited. It's very soon. We've waited a very long time for this. So it is coming out. We're premiering on Fandango, the first platform we'll be premiering on the keyboard, and that will be the 1st of August. And then we'll be opening slowly onto AVOD from the 1st of September. So it'll be everywhere by Halloween.
Oh, beautiful. So that's exciting. So we'll definitely be watching for that. And we will put on our social media, again, for our listeners, how they can see the film. One of the things I do want to ask you, start with you, Matteo, is what kind of advice would you have for somebody like a young artist that's out there that looking to be a filmmaker, maybe doesn't have a lot of budget, to work with, but they have the mind and the ideas and, the talent to get something done. What are your thoughts on that, and what kind of advice do you have for somebody like that?
At the beginning, it was really helpful for me to go to film festivals. So definitely, there is lots of film festival in the States, in Canada, also in Europe. And if you were going to a genre festival or even like a bigger festival, there is all the filmmakers are there. And I think it's important to talk with people. What I was doing at the beginning, I was listening a lot. And actually, David Walks also found that thanks to an advice of a distribution from another buyer that we had a meeting with, and he told us, why don't you do this and that? We listened to him, and then everything started from that. Yeah. So listen to advice. Don't think that you know it all, that's for sure, because it's always changing. Every year, the market's changing, the distribution is changing, filmmaking is changing. So I would say go to festival, talk to people, lots of networking, and have few ideas ready to pitch. Yeah. And collaborate with someone if possible. So if you want to be a producer, maybe find the director and another producer. So you got a team of 2, 3 people, both all are passionate about your project, and just go around and talk with people and see what's the reaction, listen to what they think about it. Going to market is very important because you can see what company are like releasing and selling and buying. So you can literally see what they're doing physically. And there is lots of markets around. And that's more like the creative part of things. And obviously watch lots of films. That's, that's part. But in general, I'm definitely going to festival. And the money side is a tough one. But probably the best way at the beginning, it's to use your own money and do some short films and get them to festivals so that people start to know you as a filmmaker, as a director. It's a long process. So that's it's a long process. It's not gonna, I mean, sometimes it might happen, like from today and tomorrow, they pitch the studio, it just happened, but that's literally just a lucky strike. So I would say be patient and build brick by brick your career, and just do really cool stuff. Like when Samantha's talking about ideas, few short films. I always say to filmmakers, if they access to different short films, they can actually make an anthology out of that. For example, some people do different shorts. They find other people with other shorts, and they can shoot like a main wrap-up story, and then that's a film. And they do work on platforms. So get your name there, get your titles on IMDb, directors and all that stuff, get credits. I would say don't, because sometimes we do meet people, producer, we usually meet the market, and they say, oh, God, this project's got 10 millions, I don't have to cast a touch. And I'll say, that's great. And I always say, okay, that's great, but do you have anything else? No. Okay. So you'll just have like this massive film that you want to make that probably, it's going to take ages to make.
Right.
And that it's a lot of waiting time. I would say, as a producer or filmmaker, have different project, different budget.
Yeah. Right. So you have a variety to bring to somebody like yourselves that, where you can take a look at the body of their work and decide which one you feel is most ready.
Yeah. You can, I would say so. And also, as you said, there's YouTube, there's TikTok, you can do short content, you can do a lot of stuff, it's quite easy to reach out now. People can see you. Sometimes actors get cast because they got lots of followers on Instagram or TikTok, for example, because
so they have an instant following already. So that does help. I would imagine.
If you're younger and you got patient, you can do it, it's great. You know how to do it, get followings, it's definitely good. But potentially those people can also put a bit of money on your first short films, do some, campaign to money, things like that. But definitely listen. You need to listen. That's what one thing, just listen to people and take advice from people that've been in the industry from a long time. Work alongside somebody that is good, like mentoring or all that stuff. It's so good.
So Samantha, how about you? And what, from your perspective, what kind of advice would you have? Because I know you were doing something completely different when you met Matteo, and he brought you down this other path. So from your perspective, what kind of advice would you give somebody that's maybe in your same path?
So I would always say, don't have expectations and keep an open mind.
Yeah.
And that can be really applied to all aspects. Like from a filmmaker's point of view, really like the importance that Matteo said of having several projects or ideas to bring. Because where you get too attached and too one single focused on a project and it's your everything and you put everything into it and it doesn't happen, that could be really crushing and that could put people off and all kinds of things. So really keep an open mind. If you bring a project and you want an honest answer because you want it to potentially be made, and if the honest answer isn't what you want to hear, you also need to be ready for that. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's a lot of no's.
Right. Mostly no's. Right.
Don't take it personal. Just, just keep going, but also expanding. And as Matteo said, listening and then maybe adapting that. So the open mind and 100%.
Yeah. One thing I always tell the artists that listen is like, you could be this close to your dream. You're this close to achieving, the success, whatever you think that success is. And then some people give up and they go, they think, well, it's never going to happen, and they could be that close to their dream. And that's the person that continues to go and continues to work. That they're the ones that actually get to where they want to be, right?
Yeah, if you show up,
Yeah.
well, if you show up,
Yeah.
that's any industry. If you're an
Yeah.
artist or whatever you want to do in life, you show up already been there. It's good because many people don't even show up, for themselves or for the job or whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah.
So that's been there. I mean, on set it's actually quite easy to find like jobs, even like assistant jobs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Adverts, spots, advertising, films. There is, I think it's an healthy industry. Definitely, it is an healthy industry, as we know. So you can get these jobs and meet people and
then-
create things together.
Yeah. And anytime, there's no age limit, right? So it's never too late or
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
And everything can change. Don't have this fixation. I want to be a director, because you might be on set and don't like being a director, but you might like to be a producer or casting director. So, there is a lot of jobs in the film industry. Start with one and see if you like it, and, go around, because the good thing of the film industry, the industry itself, is really fun to be inside.
Yeah.
And you meet a lot of crazy, interesting people, for sure.
And one other thing is try not to do everything.
Yeah.
One person trying to be the director, be the scriptwriter, be the producer.
It's possible.
It is possible. I've seen it even before.
If
and
you're
I've
young,
seen
you got a lot of energy, do it, but it takes a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
it's
it's a lot.
yeah.
It does have to- People use it to keep the budget low.
Yeah, but
Or,
Well, I know a lot of people,
That helps.
a lot of people that are independent filmmakers, it's like, as long as you have, sometimes it just, you have an idea that's within your budget. I look back at like what was that one, Blair Witch Project? Like when they had this idea of a handheld camera that the tapes get lost. I mean, that was a great idea, for something like that. And people actually thought it was real for a while. So if you have an idea like that, you can make anything. You just have to have the right idea. Within your budget. You stay within your budget. I think you never know where it's going to go, right?
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah. It's real about it.
First of all, I appreciated the time that you guys both given me today. And, Samantha, I always ask this question before I end my show, but I'll start with you. When it's all said and done, Samantha, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to leave behind when people think of Samantha Richardson?
Wow, that's a big question. Yeah, I think it's that there's not a particular person or thing that I would connect that to. I think it's more of a universal. I think that where we come from and to where we're going is all connected, and we are all connected. And I just think that I would hope that people would see, maybe in this industry anyway, that would see me and what I have done and achieved in this industry, and hopefully go on to do is to help people, because all I really want to do is to help people and bring their voices up, bringing in. That's why for us, it is really important to work with new filmmakers.
Yeah.
And we actually work with a lot of unknown casts, casts that have not even done films before. And when we see a potential in someone and we bring them to the screen and see them shine, and I think that brings a legacy of passion for what they do and opportunity. So I would like that to be my legacy.
That's great. That's a great answer. How about you, Matteo?
Well, when we started Everyworks many years ago, I remember that I made a film in the past, long time ago, and I didn't really like the way I was treated by, let's say, the company that gave that film to an etc. So the core intention of Everyworks at the beginning was to help filmmakers, the new filmmakers that are at the beginning of their career, and help them with the film and trying to treat them well, not just like, oh, we got another filmmaker. So it was really filmmaker focus, and all the people that work with us, they see that we are like really friendly, open-minded, but also direct. So it was definitely to help people, filmmakers, and we're still doing it to get the films out there, because we still do lots of film work with festivals, platform distribution, and we sell worldwide. So those films, probably they wouldn't make it without our help. They wouldn't be seen We took so many films that did really well because we put so much work underneath. It was really like, we never took a film that we didn't like.
Right.
We never did that. And that's really clear to all the filmmakers. If we don't like the film, it's not a personal thing. It's not for us, but we don't just take everything. So it
Sure.
really leave a legacy in I would say, as we said before, there's lots of doors that close in front of filmmaker, and we're trying to open the doors for them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That would be and give some sort of leave a positive seed, let's say.
Yeah.
Then they make a film and they get bigger, or maybe that's the last thing they do, but at least they got some chances there. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, and that's what we do this, for the independent, artists and filmmakers and actors out there. And they really enjoy shows like we're having today. And, the fact that you're in the industry and you've been successful and you're doing some great things out there for the younger people. It's been a huge honor to have you both on the show. And I just want to thank you both for your time. And you're always welcome back on the show. I wish you nothing but success with Hansel and Gretel Halloween. We're all going to be looking for it. We're going to push it on our show and our social media.
Thank you.
So, but just thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, likewise, thank you so much for having us, and wonderful question.
Great chatting, Dave.